Fumo, East Africa, Middle East and its war effects on the world. The Megido Doomsday Syndrome. The Torah talks about a Messiah, a living leader, who will salvage the nation of Israel from their enemies. The Christian Bible talks about the last battle, the Doomsday scenario at the Jezreel Valley, or Megido. The Muslims talk of the Doomsday. The same Megido comes into play. In the Bible, the battle between David and Goliath happened in Megido. Yes, the Valley of Hela. Napoleon, on his conquering missions, went through Megido and commented, there is no place as strategic as Megido to a general who wants to win a battle. He was on his mission and he had won. The first modern conventional war between Tutmosis and the Hittites was at the Jezreel Valley. That was before the Suez Canal had been made. There was land there. The epic battle between the Hittites and the Egyptians with Tutmosis II. Megido. A very strategic place in Abrahamic religion and end-time prophetic promises. Other wars were fought in the Middle East following this pattern. During the Egyptian-Israeli War, Suez Canal, those areas. I see a pattern, a great leader talking of restoring the Temple of Jerusalem and restoring the promised glamour on the ancient state of Israel, to where it will have peace after stamping authority on their enemies. Others see the arrows in Revelation and the horse rising, depicting the Assyrian archers being defeated and the revenge of the devil. This may appear religiously and to the sects that see victory in that region. But now that's not in Megido. For those who are able to interpret, they talk of Gog and Magog and whatever at Megido. Preachers, Muslim, Christians, preach about the end days at Megido. But this scenario that is placing itself is not at Megido. The Jews see a living leader. A living leader. Not a resurrected leader, no. Not a leader coming from heaven, no. a Messiah they are waiting for. Maybe they will see him, or maybe they have seen him. I will not be able to tell. It's only them who have the interpretation of the Messiah. But the Messiah will be able to thrash down the enemies of the nation of the past and restore peace and harmony and a triumphant, peaceful stay for the people of Israel. Within the same perspective, I see another people, a people who feel that they would like to restore the name they had. They were leaders of that place. And the people from that zone who feel that those of Israel are foreigners. I see these two scenarios playing. And everybody feels he has the right of way. Others also feel they had the right of might. It is a tantalizing situation. To some, they are effecting what the Crusaders may have effected. They are putting right the biblical ways. They are putting right the Christian ways. But let me ask you, who are Christians? Are Muslims not Christians? Are Christians not Muslims? I've taught in the past. And everybody boasts of being a devotee to his religion. Ask a Christian, are you a devotee? He'll tell you, yes, I am a devotee in my religion. I'm a devotee in my belief to Jesus Christ. Ask a Muslim the same question. He's a devotee to the Prophet Muhammad. And Isa bin Maryam, another important prophet. Without belief in Isa bin Maryam, who Prophet Muhammad said the truth. He's a true prophet. And he was opening the curtain for him to come and rectify what the disciples of Isa. In fact, Islam is about Prophet Muhammad rectifying what Isa bin Maryam had been taught, and by the words of the very Quran itself, the disciples messed up with the message, so they can't put the message right. So these two religions are talking about Isa bin Maryam and talking about Jesus Christ, who is the same one. Isa bin Maryam, Jesus, son of Mary. Which Mary? Same Mary. When Muhammad picked on the Kaaba, where the black stone is, there was a picture of Maryam and Isa, which was later removed. Who is Isa? Isa is the same Jesus. Doomsday talks of Isa. Yes. Isa will come in the last days. Christians talk of Jesus coming in the last days. So here is a riddle. Who is a Muslim? A Muslim is a devotee. If you are a devotee Christian, you are Muslim. If you are a devotee Muslim, because Muhammad talked of Islam, surrender to God. Anybody who has surrendered to God, you are Muslim. Now here is a scenario where a Muslim in Christ wants to salvage a place from a Muslim in Isa. The scenario we had at Fort Jesus in Mombasa. Muslims fighting to remove Christians, and then Christians gather, the Portuguese come and fight to remove the Muslims. And they all thought they were fulfilling a very important religious obligation. They were removing heathens from Fort Jesus. Yes, the Christian had to remove the Muslim heathens, and the Muslims would gang and remove the Christian heathens. Little did they know that they are both Muslim and they are both Christians. That is the scenario we have now. I know the Muslims will not, the Jews will not take this the way anybody would, but let me ask, do we not have devotees in Judaism? If one is a devotee, according to my understanding, because I've done comparative religion on my own, if one is a devoted person in Judaism, you are a devotee, you are Muslim. Interesting. Who would say it's not a devotee? But here is a situation where each one of us is trying to interpret from his own point of view, from his own guidance by the holy books, his own understanding of what liberation is supposed to be. The Christian, in quotes, removing the Muslim who is Christian, in quotes, to make the Christian happy because the Christian who is a Muslim has been annihilated. Let's take it the other way. A Muslim who is a believer in Isa, son of Maryam, being a major prophet acknowledged by the prophet Muhammad himself, trying to remove a Christian who is a heathen, a believer in Isa bin Maryam, or Jesus, son of Maryam, and a person from Judaism who birthed these two religions, trying to remove the heathens from what is rightful is. The book of Isaiah brings in this solution or this problem. In the book of Isaiah, he prophesies, says, of a very important person who will come from Arabia and will come riding a camel. Who else would have come from the wilderness of Arabia if not Muhammad the prophet? Turn it the other way around. The book of Isaiah talks of the remnants of the Jewish kingdom who had been scattered all over the world, by God's grace, being gathered together to the ancestral land. And who is that if not the Jews? And the book of Isaiah brings in another quagmire. It also talks of another gathering. I'll gather them from the east, from the west, from the north. And those who are not called by my name shall be called my own. Christian interpretation. Quagmire. Out of these things, sometimes we learn to override other people's rights in the name of religion. Religion is supposed to be about righteousness. But when it comes to this center, religion across the three Abrahamic religious gatherings becomes a license to commit evil, a license to murder without remorse, a license to occupy without remorse, a license to evict without remorse, a license to annihilate without remorse. Mark the word Christian, mark the word Muslim, which all the three denominations claim to be, to have. There are those who think they are messiahs. They are on a mission to fulfill a Christian mission. Others, they are on a mission to fulfill a Judaism mission. And to others also, they are on a mission to fulfill a Muslim mission. Quagmire. Middle East, place rich of oil, place rich of culture, place at the center of the earth, according to my understanding. Question: is religion a license to override the rights of others? While all the religions talk of human rights being upheld. A human being as a sacred creation different from others. All the books talk about a human being being sacred. But when we come to our thoughts of religion, then to us, if somebody does not believe in our faith is garbage, or if you are mightier than that person and you can justify yourself with religion, you have to trample over that person, make that person garbage. Enslavement was done in the name of religion. No religion that I know opposed. If you have looked at my past videos, the European powers that colonized Africa and the rest of the other continents based it on the right that they were given authority by the Christian Bible. And it talks about the slaves and those who keep slaves, how they should treat them. So it was not opposed to slavery. Islam neither is opposed to slavery, because you read also about the daughter of Muhammad, Fatima, being told by the father that he should not have many slaves. Came something across like that. So slavery is also not a bad thing in that place. Judaism on the top, I've heard, but they also had slaves. So no religion opposed slaves. But morality and religious teachings opposed slavery. Here is a situation that arises where we feel that if we have might, we should enslave others. Which might? Religious might. Population might. Or technological might. If I have might in one form or another, either by virtue of population or by virtue of technology or by virtue of finances, and then I have gotten a license to override your rights and make you a slave. And I enslave you in the name of freedom. All these activities are playing in the Middle East. Question: who will bring sanity to a place where human beings and their religions are bringing insanity? Because insanity is being brought by our religions. Rights talk about autonomy. I'm going to quote the words of a former president here, past, late. He ruled, some loved him, some hated him. He was called Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. He was a president of Kenya, the second president of Kenya. He had his good part and his bad part like any other human being. But I like quoting this statement. In Africa, we have poor people who have houses that are made with mud walls and thatched grass for the roof. Being the president, he would always end up telling the nation, in your grass-thatched house, sitting on a stool, if I come as the president of Kenya and bend to enter that small grass-thatched house, you, the poor person living in that house, is the boss. I may be the president, but when I come to that hut, you are the boss. I am a visitor. Sovereignty. You may be poor in money, poor in technology, but in a place where God gave you his rights of existence. When I come there, you are boss. You make your decision. I can give my suggestions. But the person who makes the final decision is you. And I have to respect you in that small grass-thatched house. Put it the other way round. I come to your mansion, no matter how strong I am, even if I come from my small grass-thatched, mud-walled house. I come to your villa. The moment I enter the gate of your villa, you are the boss. I am a visitor, a stranger. I can give you suggestions, but I cannot override your decision. You are the final decision maker in your villa. I may sound crazy, but What is happening is everybody is trying to bring the Megido scenario here. I told you, don't be in a hurry. The world is not going to end because you initiate it. No. Those who were there before us said it would end. Think there will be a nuclear holocaust in the Middle East? And it will bring the end of the world? A nuclear holocaust? Think again. Those who come to support, you rely on that region. Some who pair with others, you belong to that region. And those who feel also they are being oppressed, you belong to that region. No Middle East, no interest of those who are supporting, no interest of those who live there. We may be telling the world that with the weapons we have, yes, we can bring down the closure of the curtains on the stage. You believe so? You believe so? You may try to initiate, but it's only God who can be able to do that. So in the process of trying to override other believers by our beliefs, we should always remember one thing. What goes around comes around. Yes. What goes around comes around. There was a time when the Roman Empire reigned supreme. Later, some other empires came and reigned supreme. And many other empires have come and reigned supreme. But the person who holds the deciding factor is God. So as we treat one another, the way we are treating one another in the Middle East, those with the military might, those with the financial might, those with the spiritual tickets. Remember, there were, there are, and there will be. Because when I talk of Mombasa, here in Kenya, town called Mombasa, in other programs I always say Mombasa. Mombasa means a place of war. People fought. That time, a country called Portugal was among the world powers. Today, Portugal is a small, quiet country in Europe. The Spaniards one time reigned supreme. That is why in Kenya, many people may not know, the Spaniards had a coin made of silver called pesos. That's why in East Africa we called money pesa. Reigned supreme. Others came. There was the great British Empire. And I'm not saying it's not a power. And things go like that, like that, like that. Things change. Remember, the way you treat other human beings may be the way that people will treat you when you go down. Not be on top forever. 2. Religion should not give us a ticket to think we can enslave others, because it's very difficult to enslave a human spirit. And 3, our liberations in the world did not come out of religion. strange enough when I'm saying that. The Aborigines of Australia almost wiped out. You can follow in the story and get what happened. The indigenous inhabitants of North America were almost wiped out. But again, it came from the human spirit that stopped those things. That's why in North America, we have native lands protected by law, by the very people who wanted to annihilate them. We got the trade in slaves being stopped by people in parliament, not religion. And it stopped. And we had whites fighting other whites in the States for the liberation of the black in the United States. These are the things that came with Martin Luther and whatever. It was when the war for the abolishment of enslavement of people had happened. What am I trying to talk about? I'm trying to talk about sanity. Call back the human spirit. Religion has never solved an injustice problems. I know many of you, when I talk like that, you feel this is a person who should be stoned, who should know. Follow history. We had a Bible for the slaves. If you go through my past, the Quran does not condemn slavery. I don't know which book condemns slavery. Religious book, there isn't. They taught you how to live well with slaves. But the human spirit realized that these are human beings like us. We are on this planet sharing common things. We are of the human species. In every game we play, let's remember we are human. And God forbid, I don't know how right that one is, if we try to suppress our own kind for other entities, it will bounce back on us. Let's respect countries, not because they have got mighty armies, no. Because it's a country and it's sovereign, and it's a right for a country to be sovereign. You will not rush rough shoulder over your neighbors because they are weak, they don't have finance. Or when you are poor, you will not go running rough shoulder over your rich neighbor because he has got money but he hasn't got strength. You work the land, you do what? You are muscular. No. It teaches us that a boundary marked has to be respected because we are human beings. That's why. Otherwise, the law of the jungle will lead us to destruction. Mark that. The law of the jungle will lead us to destruction. And let everybody in the world know this. A human spirit is such that you cannot suppress it by might. Either physical might, military might, or financial might. And a human being will always rely on another human being because that is the way we were created. So, as we ride rough shoulder over others, let's remember they are human beings and they have got the human spirit. Yes, we may get away with it sometimes, but it reaches a time when it bounces back to us. I'm not lecturing anybody because people will say, how can a guy decide to get on YouTube and tell us all this nonsense about things that we don't know. But history always repeats itself. Evil rebounces back to the evil ones. Your definition of evil may be under the cover of your religion. But when things come out, and that guise that we have kept is taken off, then the reality is exposed. And that reality may not be so good for us. We are human beings. We are human beings. Whatever we do, we should remember we are human beings. We should remember sovereignty is to be respected. And we should remember might may be right sometimes, but might sometimes may not be right. You have a conscience. Use your conscience. That's my take for now.